Have you ever looked deeply into a mirror and wondered, who am I really? Not the version of yourself you show at work or the person your family expects, but your authentic self, hidden beneath all the masks you wear each day. It's a haunting question, isn't it? Believe it or not, recent studies reveal nearly 80% of us secretly feel we're living a life meant for someone else, silently playing roles we never chose. And if you're nodding along right now, you're not alone. I've been there too. This struggle to know our true selves isn't new. Over 2,000 years ago, the Greeks carved the simple yet powerful words above the entrance of the Temple of Delphi, "Know thyself." Yet here we stand, still trying desperately to fulfill that ancient command. Psychologist Carl Jung famously warned, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you." Chapter 2. A Mother's Quest and Jung's Dream. In 1921, Carl Jung published a revolutionary book called Psychological Types. In it, he introduced ideas about human personality preferences like introversion and extroversion. But Jung said something startling most personality tests rarely admit. Every individual is an exception to the rule. He knew we could never be perfectly boxed into categories. So, if that's true, how did Jung's subtle ideas become the foundation of the world's most famous personality test? The answer begins thousands of miles away with a remarkable yet misunderstood woman named Catherine Cook Briggs. At just 14, Catherine had graduated college, but society forced her into the single role of wife and mother. But instead of allowing that role to limit her, Catherine turned motherhood itself into an extraordinary scientific quest. She transformed her home into a living laboratory, carefully observing her daughter Isabel recording detailed notes, convinced she could scientifically understand the mystery of personality. But then tragedy struck her heart deeply. Isabel left home for college, plunging Catherine into profound depression. Feeling empty and lost, Catherine desperately searched for meaning and discovered Jung's writings. Reading them, she experienced a powerful revelation. The misunderstandings she'd witnessed weren't mistakes, they were simply differences in personality. Catherine began to see personality as sacred, even spiritual, believing deeply that understanding it could truly heal souls. Then came the shocking twist. Isabel returned home with a fiancé named Clarence Myers, an outgoing, cheerful young man utterly unlike Catherine's quiet family. How could two such radically different people find harmony together? Catherine couldn't let this puzzle go. She and Isabel became obsessed with Jung's ideas, determined to create a practical tool anyone could use. Yet here's the incredible part. Neither woman was a trained psychologist. Isabel was a novelist, an imaginative storyteller with no formal scientific background. Yet guided purely by empathy and intuition, they invented what critics today still label as pseudoscience, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Chapter 3. The Four Roads to Self-Discovery. Imagine yourself standing at a crossroads deep in an ancient forest. Four paths unfold before you, each one promising to reveal profound truths about who you truly are. But before we explore these roads, let me acknowledge something critics love to point out. Yes, categorizing the complexity of human personality into neat boxes seems absurd. You might even think this sounds suspiciously like astrology disguised as psychology. But pause just one moment, because what you're about to discover might genuinely surprise you. The Myers-Briggs personality framework presents four fundamental crossroads, each reflecting the subtle preferences quietly guiding every decision you make. Walk these paths with me now, and see if you recognize something deeply familiar about yourself along the way. First, consider this. How do you truly recharge your energy? Introverts regain energy through solitude, quiet reflection, and personal time. Extroverts, meanwhile, recharge through social connection, vibrant interactions, and external stimuli. But let's clear something up right now. Introversion isn't shyness, and extroversion isn't always loudness. Picture yourself exhausted after an intense day at work. Do you instinctively crave quiet, solitary moments to recover, or do you seek out friends, conversations, and shared experiences to recharge? Be honest with yourself, because your answer here quietly shapes the rhythm of your entire life. Now, pause briefly, because if you're thinking, wait a minute, is this serious psychology or fortune cookie wisdom? So, I get it. But hold that skepticism just a bit longer. Trust me, the insights ahead might surprise even the deepest skeptic. Picture this: Christmas Eve 1914 along Europe's freezing Western Front. Soldiers who've spent months trying to kill each other suddenly start singing Christmas carols across no man's land. Soldiers cautiously emerge from trenches, shaking hands, exchanging gifts, even playing soccer together to... Their generals rage, logic demands hatred, warfare, death, but their hearts demand something far more human, compassionate. This isn't merely history, it's a reflection of every quiet battle between logic and empathy you face every day. Be honest, have you ever chosen compassion when logic demanded otherwise? Your answer reveals more about your true self than any test ever could. Fast forward 3 decades to World War II, high above Germany. American pilot Charlie Brown desperately struggles to keep his shattered bomber airborne. German fighter pilot Franz Stiegler moves in for the kill. Logic and training scream, "Shoot!" Yet he sees frightened, wounded humans inside. Something deeper than logic intervenes. Defying orders, Stiegler escorts them safely out of enemy skies, risking execution for his compassion. Decades later, these two former enemies embrace as close friends. This isn't just another war story, it reveals how your personality quietly shapes every difficult choice you make. When has your heart last defied cold logic? But for personality isn't just about empathy or logic, it's also about how we approach life itself. Consider explorers Roald Amundsen and Robert Falcon Scott racing toward the South Pole in 1911. Amundsen meticulously planned every detail, leaving nothing to chance, returning home victorious. Scott trusted adaptability and spontaneous decisions. Tragically, it cost him everything. Their story vividly demonstrates that how you naturally structure your life profoundly shapes your destiny. Are you more Amundsen, planning carefully, or Scott, trusting your adaptability? Be truthful, because your preference shapes your life's outcomes profoundly. Now imagine Rosa Parks, quiet, introverted, gently courageous. Now let's confront something head-on that critics have shouted for decades. Myers-Briggs is oversimplified. Pseudo-scientific nonsense, nothing but astrology dressed up as psychology. And here's the uncomfortable truth: they're partly right. Yes, Myers-Briggs simplifies human personality into tidy boxes, and scientifically speaking, our identities can't fit neatly into just 16 categories. Humans are complex, ever-changing beings. Carl Jung himself admitted this openly, saying, "Every individual is an exception to the rule." Yet here's something the skeptics rarely address. Despite all the valid criticism, millions around the world continue to find deep personal clarity through Myers-Briggs. Think about it carefully. Why would thoughtful, intelligent people passionately trust something so flawed, so openly criticized? Maybe because at its heart, Myers-Briggs was never truly about labels, science, or absolute accuracy. Perhaps it's always been about empathy, about understanding, and above all about finally feeling seen in a world that rarely bothers to truly look. Imagine for a moment you're lost in a dense, unfamiliar forest. Someone hands you a map. That map doesn't capture every detail perfectly, but it guides you. It gives you direction. It helps you find your way back home. Myers-Briggs isn't precise science, it's that map. It offers clarity when you're confused, empathy when you're misunderstood, and connection when you're lonely. Can you honestly say that's worthless? But let's be clear, the critics serve an important purpose. They challenge us to think deeply, to question our assumptions, to search deeper for meaning. Their skepticism keeps us honest. But if you dismiss something outright without genuinely asking why it resonates deeply with millions, you risk missing the very point entirely. So, before you toss Myers-Briggs aside, ask yourself honestly, is the purpose of personality tests to scientifically measure your identity, or to help you finally understand yourself and the people around you better? Because your answer matters far more deeply than you may realize. And if at this moment you're feeling truly understood, perhaps clearer than ever, then please join this community right now. If you've made it this far, you're already exploring something profoundly human, the timeless, relentless search to understand ourselves. But pause for just a moment and consider this deeply. Why do we even care about knowing ourselves? Why does the question, "Who am I?" echo so persistently through every culture, every era, and every human heart? The truth is both simple and profound. Knowing who we truly are isn't about categories, labels, or neat personality boxes. It's about finding genuine meaning and purpose in life. Carl Jung famously said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart." He believed personality wasn't just a psychological trait. It was a doorway to discovering your deeper self, your soul, your reason for existing. Think deeply about this. How many times have you felt misunderstood, even by those closest to you? How often have you silently wished someone could finally see the real you beneath all your masks? Personality tests like Myers-Briggs speak directly to that deep, quiet longing we all share, to feel truly seen, to be genuinely understood, to finally belong. Ultimately, Myers-Briggs doesn't define us, it frees us. It gives us permission to embrace our differences, turning them into strengths rather than flaws. It's not about labeling ourselves, it's about loving ourselves and each other. It's about empathy, compassion, and clarity. So it's an invitation, an open door to finally understanding who you truly are, perhaps for the first time ever. And so here is my honest invitation to you right now. If this conversation moved you deeply, if you felt understood even once, don't let this journey end here. Like this video right now, subscribe to join thousands who share your curiosity and passion for self-discovery. Share this video with someone who needs clarity, empathy, or simply the reassurance that they're not alone. Because you're not a label, not a personality type, and not merely the sum of your traits. You're infinitely more a human being on an incredible journey toward deeper wisdom, empathy, and profound self-understanding. Let's continue this adventure together.